Hey everybody, this is Chloe over at Bit3K Miguel, also known as Bring It to the Table. And yes, that is a bird in my hair. I just got back from my good friend's art exhibition and store opening in downtown Tacoma, and so I'm in my art opening dress attire, and I of course wore a bird in my hair, so that's that. But less about what I'm wearing and more about what I want to talk with you all about tonight. This video is probably going to be the first in a series of videos that talks about feminism and women and how that intersects with our hobby. I was very pleased with the discussions about feminism, about gender, not about feminism, about gender, and about women at the table on the Brigade page this week. If anyone who is tuning in doesn't know, there is a brigade of YouTube RPG producers like myself, and we have a Facebook group that we talk about stuff about. And one of the things we talked about was this picture, something I talked about in a video, my last video, a response to a fellow Brigader, Juice 734. Um, and this video is going to attempt to talk about a lot of stuff in a short period of time. And we'll probably have follow-ups because this is a large topic. I'm attempting to talk about feminism, which has pretty much a 120-year history, which is putting it shortly, and about women who have been around forever, and about D&D, which has been around for like 30, 40 years, right? 30 years, 40 years, I don't know. It's been around for a while too. So all of these things, which have their own histories, their own developments, and their own stages, are all intersecting with each other. So I don't know that I'm going to accomplish everything I need to in this video, but we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. The first thing I'm going to talk about is feminism and what that is. Feminism is the radical notion that everyone is equal, that men and women are equal, and if you believe that, then you're a feminist. It's pretty much that. If you believe that men and women, despite their differences, are inherently the same, then you're a feminist. And give yourself a pat on the shoulder for being a good old feminist. A lot of people think that feminism is bra burning and man hating and like lesbian love festivals in the forest, and that's feminism too. But feminism has a lot of political beliefs has a lot of differences, has a lot of different kinds, and at its core, feminism is really about equality and about creating de jure or law-based equalities between men and women if they do not exist, or if laws are actively discriminating against women, and de facto, or by matter of fact situations, equality, um, saying, women should be paid equally and that for doing the same work, and that um, men and women should be treated equally in the military, things like this. These are projects of feminism. Feminism started out as a way to make men and women equal in the legal setting and give us the right to vote. And then, as that happened, and yet men and women were still stratified and equality wasn't there, feminism changed and became a means of creating spaces for women and self expression, creating spaces where women could be identified solely with themselves and not be based off of their relations with men. A good way to describe this is that women are often referred to as our mothers, our sisters, our wives, not defined in and of themselves. They're defined by what they're doing with men. And that is a product of our society. One of my favorite professors, when she talked about the patriarchal system that we live in, she said it's like a big bowl of Jello salad that you're born with your head inside of. And just because you lift your head out and begin to view people as equal, doesn't mean you don't have Jello salad all over your face still. And that's kind of life once you realize that you're a feminist. It's realizing the Jello salad you have all over your face and wiping that off and revealing what is actually there that isn't informed by what society says you have to think or feel about women or about men or our roles in society. And feminism is important to me because it really informs how I think and feel about the world. It makes me a better person. It makes me think that everyone's equal despite where they come from or what they're working with. And it makes me believe in our inherent good. It helps me to love God better. It helps me to really be able to enter into a future partnership, with my future husband. It makes me able to be a future better mother and a better employee, to think that we all, despite our differences that we bring to the table, all have something to give at the table. And that's where feminism intersects intersects with the hobby for me. I approach D&D very analytically and philosophically. Have a major in English literature and in German, and um, that has really informed my adult life and how I approach the world. The world is text for me. I think maybe you could hear my mom talking, telling my brother to eat their dinner in the background. But anyway, the world is text. I approach film. I approach D&D. I approach um, a laundry list as something to analyze. A bunch of receipts from someone can be a window into the world. And so when it comes to the hobby, you know, I I analyze there too, and it's part of my enjoyment. And one of the things I love about the way the rules work, especially in stuff like D&D and Pathfinder, is that everything in the world is equal. Everything, all beings, even gods, and they're all made equal by their stats. Stats create a situation where every single thing, from toads to Jesus, um, have are able to be described and equalized on six different axes that have to do with physical and mental and spiritual parts of ourselves. And I think that's brilliantly feminist. I think to say that everything is equal, and despite its differences, like someone can be stronger, someone can be wiser, someone can be more charismatic, and someone can be more, um, dexterous or have a sturdier body. But at the end of the day, we're all the same. We all make up the same kind of numbers, and we all have something to bring to the table. If there were a bunch of bards, well, we could all assassinate some goats, but we can't really do some good adventuring. And if we've got a whole bunch of rogues or a whole bunch of this or a whole bunch of that, that doesn't make for a good party. For you min maxers out there, feminism and multiculturalism is something that you do. It's something that we do and think about a lot in this hobby. And I think that D&D at its core is a feminist project. Um, and I'm making that claim as a woman gamer, as a feminist, as an academician, and as someone who loves our hobby. That this, to me, is one of the most brilliantly feminist things in the world. And that's one of, oh God, I don't want to cry because that's just going to make me stereotype, but it makes me feel really good to know that something I love and care about so deeply is also very feminist and is a bastion of equality. I'm sorry. Anyway, it's one of the reasons why it's so important to me, this hobby. And I guess the reason why I'm getting a little emotional is because when I first tried to approach the hobby, I was treated very badly. Um, my first GM was just an asshole, and did like awful things to put me down. And there were other women at the table that he was doing that more or less to as well. And I think that is because, and this is, I don't think it's a problem, guys. I don't think it's a problem that D&D started off as a male-only space. I don't think it's a problem that when D&D was created, there were people that needed that space for themselves. And I'm talking about people like us, nerds, geeks, people who are on the outs, who are ostracized, who needed a space that D&D offered. And most of those people were men. And that's okay. That's our history. That's the history of our hobby, and we should honor that. That that's what our hobby did for people. Not only did it give them all of the wonderfulness that D&D offered, but it made a space for them where there was none before. That's feminism. That's a feminist project. To create a space for people that don't have it, that's multiculturalism at its core. And so I think we need to honor D&D's history as a male-exclusive space. And as we look toward bridging the gap or creating solutions, and I'm going to reference our pie charts that we've been sharing in the Brigade. We've all been sharing pictures of the breakdown of male to female viewers of our videos. And for a lot of men, it's like 97% male, 2 to 3% female. For some men, it's a bit higher. For me, it's 19% women. But that's probably because my mom subscribed to my videos and watches them all the time on repeat. Thanks, Mom. Um, but in thinking about making space for women, it begins by first recognizing that this was an exclusively male arena, of that that's what our hobby was, and that now we want to make space for women too. So we're going to end this video talking about the fact that the gist that I'm getting from people's videos and comments regarding this is two things. One, some men are okay with it being exclusively male. Run with that. If you need an all-male space for you to have fun, do it. Like, own it and honor that, and there's no problem with that. There's gonna get so guilty with that. The next thing is that if you want women at your table, let's have some real talk about women for a second. And the fact that men and women are different, and there's all that social bullshit and all of that standing in the way. And the first step in getting women at your table is acknowledging that fact that for all reasons, biological and social, men and women have differences in the way we act, the way we communicate, and what's important to us. Um, you know, there's awesomeness to be had by having men and women gamers together. A recent example of this is I just rolled up an investigator with Matt yesterday. Uh, he's over at A Fistful of Dice. Um, and as a investigator, I chose the occupation pilot, right? And let me close Facebook so we don't get any more of those little bloop bloops. So I chose pilot, and I had all my skills, and Matt was like, "You get one more skill," and I was like, "Ooh, maybe I should take craft propeller blades because because my character's dad was like an ace in the Great War, right?" And so her name is Gina Mae Snyder. Her dad's Jack Snyder. She's tall like Brienne of Tarth, like keeps her hair long. Anyway, the point is, is that I wanted to take a craft thing, and Matt was like, what about handgun? Because if you got shot down, you'd like want to kill people or like, and I'm like, oh, right, guns. And so that's a recent example of why having men and women at the table is a good thing, because in some respect you're gonna want to have that like character driven building, but on the other hand you're gonna want some guns. And after that inspired me to make my character have like 80% in her fist, um, because I was like, she's really tall, like she's got really high strength and really high constitution, and we decided that she was like based off Brienne of Tarth and a tall giant. She's probably gonna be able to punch suckers out, people. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. That was a little tangent, but tangent with purpose is that um, you need to understand that there are differences in men and women, and acknowledging that as a first step is going to be beneficial to you. The next step is with any group, you're going to have a rule system, right? And the rules are there for fun. Well, it may help at your table if you have men and women and there's some discomfort there to set up boundaries. Boundaries are about respecting each other. And if one of your female gamers doesn't jive with all the dick jokes, guess what, buddies? Time to lay off some of those. And if you need to be able to tell dick jokes to have a good time, well, then you should come to our table because we just love them. Um, but you know what? I bet if something went too far at our table, because of the respect we have for each other, we'd be able to, as ladies, be like, whoa, too far. And that is kind of um, I think what am I trying to say here? Bear with me for a second. I'm going to talk about an example I brought up on the page today in the difference between um, saying women are equal and women can play games and having more women players with you and having more women watching your channel. So when I first got introduced to the hobby, it was to 3 and 3-5, mostly just 3. And when I was reading through the books, I really got a sense of I should be a rogue or a druid or a sorceress because these are the only ones that seem like they would be gendered to what I, as a woman, was interested in. And so I didn't really pay attention to any of the other classes. I really thought there was nothing there for me. Now, flip 2 or 3 years later, when I'm reading through Pathfinder, preparing, reading through Pathfinder, preparing for my first campaign, and the very first thing I see is Barbarian, and she's a lady. The Barbarian is a woman, and there's women in all kinds of roles, and there are roles where you think there'd be a man there, and it's a or a woman there, and it's a dude. And the whole approach that Pathfinder had to having things switch back and forth between genders, and the fact that the GM's guide for Pathfinder versus third edition is switches back and forth readily between a male and female perspective. Um, that's how you do it, folks. You just integrate um, women and women's ideas and women's opinions toward things into your world. You start to take off that jello salad, that patriarchal shit that we're all born with, and accept that things are wonky, things aren't as cool as they could be. Men and women should be able to get along. There are reasons why we can't, and the endeavor to make things better is worthwhile. The radical notion that we're all equal despite our differences is a worthwhile project to take on. It's something that we should care about. It's something that you probably care about. And if any of this is resonating with you, then it's time for you to begin your own feminist project. Time for you to consider what, to use the jello salad metaphor again, what jello salad you've got on your face, why it's there, what it means, and to unpack that in a way that's safe and comfortable for you. And that, I think, is a lifelong process. I wasn't a feminist when I was growing up. I remember when I had to read women's literature in high school, I thought it was dribble and bullshit. And I thought it was just so self-serving, and shouldn't they just want to be wives and mothers and all this stuff? And, college changed my opinion of a lot of that, and I'm really glad for that I had that experience. And, everyone is welcome to their own opinion and their own way of looking at things, but it would be really difficult for me to believe that anyone who really loves this hobby doesn't think that we're all equal. Anyone who loves to put things down to dice doesn't think that we all are on the same footing. And so that's kind of my 2 cents on this one, where what feminism is, how women are, um, what are some of the stuff we go through, and ways that you can include us in what you're doing if it's something you want. And I think I want to end the video in just reaffirming that if you don't want women at your table because you want a male only space, that's okay. And if you're talking to your bros in your videos, that's also okay too. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having and wanting male conversation. But if it's something that you want to change it. Don't pussyfoot around. Make and integrate a feminist, or excuse me, make and integrate a feminine and womanly perspective in what you're doing. And the way you do that is by reading, writing, enjoying, and using things that do that. Pick up the Game Master Guide to Pathfinder if you haven't. Check out, um, I don't know, what's something awesome and feminist? Jesus. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'll come up with some stuff, some resources for you to begin, examining these things. But really, just make room. Just have an empty seat at the table for us. We'll show up. As much as you're waiting for us, we're waiting for someone to let us in too. So that's my 2 cents, and I really am interested in hearing what you guys have to say about this. The outpouring of respect that this topic has garnered on the YouTube page makes me really happy to be a part of this brigade. So, more videos later. Enjoy the bird, and happy hunting and happy gaming.